This is Brother Ron, and welcome to We All Be News Radio and TV, the news-free Dixie for the 21st century.
We All Be is honored to have on the one and only Health Minister, Brother Nathaniel Jordan, with us today, originally from the STL, but he's going worldwide with his message of hope and inspiration via your health. How you doing today, sir?
I'm doing good, Brother Ron. Thanks for having me.
It's an honor to have you on. First and foremost, man, you got a very commanding voice. I mean, you should be in radio, TV, voiceovers, all that stuff. So what's stopping you?
well, I'm about to get some things on the ball with Rock helping me out, and I'm get some things. I'll be on some radio shows coming up. I'm working with the program director for WOL, and I do a lot of speaking. I've spoken at a few churches so far, and people usually do really enjoy hearing the message that I deliver, because I'm able to deliver it in a way that really gets down deep to the soul of who the soul of who I'm talking to.
I mean, definitely, it's like you got a certain type of anointing on you. I mean, just your voice, the vibrations I get from your voice, it's like it's a lot of good intention and well-meaning for humanity. And the Rock that you mentioned is Brother Rock Newman, the one and only Brother Rock Newman, a radio personality, a true media living legend in our community. Helped Riddick Bowe get to the world heavyweight championship status. A man of many lives and reinventions, but he really was singing your praises and singing the gospel, the good news that you helped to carry. So I want to know, what is your ministry about? You being the health minister, what is your gospel about?
Right. So my ministry started 6 years ago when I was 100 pounds overweight, and I had cardiovascular disease, and I came across a life-saving book called Eat to Live by a medical doctor named Joel Furman. He's a real doctor. He takes people in with all these diseases and massive amount of weight to lose, and he doesn't push pills. He pushes nutrition, real medicine. So I took the information and changed. However, what slightly bothered me was that I was like, where are my fellow African-American brothers and sisters as far as success stories? And I continued to learn from other doctors. And it was the same issue that I saw, where the majority of this health enlightenment and great success stories were mostly white people. Now, that's okay. They need the information too. But as a black man, I became concerned enough to say, you know what? There needs to, this information, the optimal level of information, there needs to be more of a voice within the black community. So I started Ministry of Wellness, Inc. And that's what I've been doing, is taking that information that I learned. And as I've learned, we've had elders and ancestors in the past who have done this work, focusing on the health disparities within the black community. We are the most overweight and sickliest ethnic group in arguably in the world. But Dr. Sebi and Dr. Lala Africa, they have been in our communities for years. However, they are quite up in age. Of course, Dr. Sebi is gone from us now. And so me being much younger, there needs to be a newer generation of health conscious African Americans for our people. And I'm happy to be one of those taking up that mantle.
No, definitely not. Somebody I thought about recently as well, the passing of Baba Dick Gregory, who's also from St. Louis, like yourself. Do you ever had a chance to meet him by any chance?
You know, I didn't, brother, but I did meet and know of his brother, Ronald Gregory.
Oh, yes.
And yes, and he's very supportive of what he allows me to post health information on his Facebook page. But I didn't have the honor of meeting the Dick Gregory.
But somebody who co-signed you is a person that was a part of his inner circle, Brother Rock Newman, who is well respected in our community in terms of information dissemination. How did you two get together?
Well, he came across a video that I did an interview with Black Media Hall of Famer Bernie Hayes from St. Louis. And I did a local TV show in St. Louis with Bernie. Bernie gave me information concerning other Black media outlets throughout the United States. I started reaching out to them, and I included a clipping of that interview I did with him because it was an excellent interview. He asked me all the right questions. And so someone forwarded that my email information to Rock, and Rock saw it. And when he called me, you know, he told me that he knows a champion when he sees one, which is a very gracious remark for him to say. And he said he wanted to change my life, but he wanted me to help him change his life.
Wow.
And yes, and so, you know, talked it over with my wife, and I've been out here, and Rock has lost 35 pounds so far since I've been working with him and coaching him. And we have a long way to go, but he's made tremendous progress, 35 pounds lighter, and the strength training that I have him doing, and he can, you know, even with the failures that come with trying to break free from something as powerfully addicting as what food has become, he's very happy with the results so far.
And like, that's not, I mean, for him to basically co-sign what you're doing, that says a lot, because like I said, he was a part of Dick Gregory's inner circle. And also he helped, you know, Riddick Bowe become a heavyweight boxing champion in the world, him along with Dick Gregory. So when he tell you that is high praise. And I want to thank Brother Hayes out in St. Louis for providing the blueprint, the excellent blueprint on how to interview you and get this important information out to the community. Because that was definitely a powerful interview that Brother Hayes did with you. So, like I said, something about St. Louis guys, y'all like the show me state, so you got to show improve, and you've been showing improving. So I want to ask you this, because a lot of us in our mindset, you talk about the powerful addiction that is food. It's kind of like, it reminds me of cigarettes. Is it the tobacco or is it the nicotine that makes it so addictive? So what is it about food, the food that we're consuming right now, that makes it so addictive?
Well, whenever you take a plant, a whole natural plant, and you strip it down and you take away all of the natural medicines and all of the fiber, it becomes an addictive drug substance. So you can chew on a cocoa leaf all day long, and it's actually healthy, but you take it and you process it down to a powder and snort it up your nose, and it's an addictive it's an addictive drug that causes all sorts of unnatural pleasure stimulation in the brain, which is called dopamine. So that's what's being done to food. It you know, the Snickers bars, the donuts, and it starts from a plant. The plant gets stripped down to its bare essentials, a white powder. Then you take the white powder and you add another drug-like substance, sugar, which comes from the cane or the beet, and it's stripped down. Then you dump it in oil, which is stripped down version of a whole natural plant. And then you heat up the oil and fry it. And then you have this concoction it just in the foods we're eating. It's not even food. It's just drugs on top of drugs that send unnatural surges of dopamine to the brain, and then the brain gets rewired to want that addiction, and the brain will lead you to situations to support the addiction, and it's a mess. It's a mess we're in. We have then they create a whole society that revolves, that has made it normal to eat oneself to death. So if you even try to break free from the society, then you have to go through the pain and the headaches of trying to be different. So that's what all of those things play a role in making the food so addictive. It's extremely pleasurable, and then everybody's doing it. And then we're designed to want to seek foods that are calorically dense, because that's a survival mechanism from thousands of years of living through feast and famine. So we're already designed to want caloric dense pleasure foods. We're designed to want to get the most bang for our buck with the least amount of effort. And so the food industry is meticulously designed these Frankenfoods in a way that supports all of these things. And that's why we have almost 100% of all Black women are overweight or obese, and nearly 90% of Black men are overweight or obese.
So he said those numbers again. How much percentage-wise Black women are overweight and obese?
100. Yeah, it's so few Black women that are in shape and fit that is not even a percentage. The government says 80 plus percent of Black women. That's the government. That's going by a BMI of 25, meaning that if you're 5'3" or 5'4", you can be over 150, 160 pounds, which for most of our sisters, they believe that's healthy. However, what I'm saying is that we shouldn't be listening to any health information coming from our government, because they're controlled by the drug and meat and egg and dairy industries. So the truth is that if you can pinch more than a full inch of excess body fat around your navel, as a woman, you're overweight. And then as a man, it's just as simple as this. You should be able to take your shirt off at any time and clearly see your stomach muscles. If that's not the case, and you can't see your stomach isn't flat because you're eating the wrong foods, that's overweight. And that excess fat is destroying the insides of your body, and it's especially keeping a high amount of insulin and sugar in your blood, and that leads to about 50 different diseases. So by that definition of excellence, 100% of all Black women are overweight or obese. And that's why if you try not to be obese as a Black woman, you get scrutinized. It's so much a part of our culture that if you try to be a lean, fit Black woman, you're subject to face bullying and being scrutinized. And again, that goes back to the social normalcy of being fat and sick. And then we have men that, eat themselves to death trying to look like the Hulk. And that's why most men are still overweight, because even if you are doing all that weight training and eating, 20 pounds of steak every day, you're still overweight because you're putting a tremendous amount of stress on your organs and liver and prostate.
That's interesting. I mean, like what you're saying are very unpopular things to say, but they're very honest, it seems. If you look at it from a logical point of view, what you're saying should be respected in our communities, but we're not dealing with the reality of our situation as a collective.
Right, and now we're destroying future generations. So with me, with what I do, I don't have time to sugarcoat anything, because we have parents that hate God because their child come out with cancer. Well, you should have been taught that how you ate as a child affected the health of your future child. See, grandparents should know that when they give their 5-year-old grandchild candy and cookies and crackers and donuts and cakes. They are destroying the life of their future great grandchild, because when a little girl is born, she already has the eggs in her. When a little boy is born, a male, he already has the sperm in him. So you can damage your sperm and your eggs, and you can age your sperm and eggs when you're a child, and then you 30 years you ate Burger King, McDonald's. You'd be lucky if you're even able to have children, because that's an epidemic by itself. But then you come together and you put together a rotten sperm and a rotten egg, and that baby don't stand a chance. Then you destroy it 9 months in the womb, because that the baby's growth in the womb is critically dependent upon the amount of green vegetables the mother eats. That's where the folate comes in. But then the wicked medical industry would just tell them just to eat, to take folic acid instead of getting the real thing from green vegetables, because they automatically assume, well, you ain't going to eat no green vegetables anyway, so just take a pill. Well, that actually makes things worse. So the baby ages 100 years in the womb.
Wow.
The baby comes out 100 years old with cancer out of the womb, or an autoimmune disease, or a heart defect. And then the parents, they're distraught. And who wouldn't be distraught being giving birth to a very sick child? But that's what happened. And we're passing this down generation by generation. We're passing down obesity to our children and mental illness to our children, because these Frankenfoods are turning on disease causing genes, and we're passing these genetics down. So we're destroying the health of our children. We're pretty much committing diet-induced child abuse against our own children.
I mean, it's like what you're saying. All this stuff is very heavy, and it might scare a lot of people, because what you're saying is scaring me right now. It's like a scary movie. I'm serious, man. You scaring me. I'm listening like, oh my God. But what you're saying, like, I'm thinking about, okay, so it's hereditary diseases, but it's not necessarily like, it's not genetic. Like, it's choices that we make, right? It's not like it's got to be like this, because, like, you know how people say, well, big bone runs in my family, or cancer runs in my family, heart disease runs in my family. But what you're saying is really by the choices we make in food consumption that causes these diseases to be passed down generation to generation, correct?
Correct. What I'm saying is that food is being used as a form of epigenetics. Epigenetics is you can turn on genes. You can change people's hereditary. That's what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. We are so dependent upon what we eat, whether we like it or not. We're so dependent, just like what you put in your vehicle is dependent on how that vehicle runs. We know more about vehicles than we do our own bodies, even though the vehicle is designed based off of the body. And so it is critically dependent, our bodies and our brains, on what we eat. And they've known this for years, that such as the Nazis knew this back in the 40s and 30s, that you can turn on people's genetics and you can make a person the way you want them to be by turning on and off genes inside of their body and brains. That's called epigenetics. That's been known for years. And that's why Adolf Hitler tried his best to be a vegan, because even back in the 30s, he understood that. And the Nazis had a high level of nutritional excellence that they expected, because they knew that. But here we are 70 years later, gobbling down everything, and we don't even understand what they understood 60, 70 years ago. And of course, that information, is being hidden from the masses, how powerful of a tool. Food is the most powerful biological weapon of mass destruction that you can use, because you destroy somebody's immune system and then you release a virus or a deadly bacteria, and you can wipe out entire populations with little to no effort.
Man, can you say that again about food? I think you said that part. I mean, I'm just trying to digest it myself. You said food is the most powerful
It's a biological weapon of mass destruction because you can intentionally use food to destroy people's immune system. You can turn off their defense system to fight disease with these micronutrient deficient junk food. These are just empty calories you eat. They have no medicinal value whatsoever. It's akin to putting sugar in your vehicle. And you can destroy people's immune systems. Then you can release a potent virus or bacteria in the air like Ebola or the flu or any of these viruses or bacteria. You can wipe out entire populations.
Wow, I mean, I'm just digesting this because I'm thinking about you from St. Louis. I call it St. Louis, Missouri, Missouri. But that's the home of Monster Inc., Monsanto, GMOs. I mean, they're endorsed by the government, approved and endorsed and backed by the government. What does that say about us as a society, about our system, that you just told me all this information that the Nazis knew even back then, but that our government allowed these people to manipulate our food supply? What does it say about our system, about our government?
It says that we don't have no business trusting in them, especially as black people. I mean, it shouldn't really come to a surprise. We have been lynched and brutalized and raped and murdered here for over 400 years. So we don't trust. It's only with the food and medicine that we really struggle with really coming to grips of that this is the most, when you're talking about extreme racism and destruction of the black race, it's the food and medical industry. Now, we'll all recognize that with the police. I was a police officer for 7 years in St. Louis City. So it would be like if I was talking about how racist it is and, they professional slave cats, it will resonate with everybody. That's like, okay, yeah, we all, know that they shoot us down and shot Trey, you know what I'm saying? But for some reason, it doesn't click. We don't want to quite accept that when it comes to food and medicine, when those industries are a billion times worse than the criminal justice system, not even close. And so the question is why? Why is it that we're so surprised that this is the type of system and is the most used system to destroy our people? Well, it goes back to food addiction, because addiction wants to believe that you can destroy your cells until they become, for 40 years, until they become so rotten they clump together and form a tumor. And that's all cancer is. But our addiction wants to believe that once we do that to ourselves, that we can go inside of a hospital, and hops means death and it'll means sinner. So we can go inside a death center and take a pill that's going to wipe away 40 years of us eating all of these death shacks in our community. That's insanity. But but addiction will wire the brain to want to believe that, that can happen, even though we see it doesn't work. We can just look at our family members, and all of our family members die of the same diseases. They all take a bunch of pills, but we still go to get the same pills that we already seen in our own families. They don't work.
That's the very definition of insanity, right? Keep on doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result.
Exactly. But it's comfortable to stay like that because it's the brain gets used to having that addiction. And so the brain, that's where cravings come from. The brain is trying to protect itself from suffering, from having to suffer from the loss of the pleasure. So it'll create cravings. And that's why when you get in certain situations, you'll get a craving to eat something, to grab something, because that's a defense mechanism. The brain does not want to change because change is uncomfortable. So it'll send you a craving so that you can go. And the cravings can be very powerful.
I'm just thinking about the numbers. You said like basically almost 100% of black men and women are obese or overweight. And, this is the 50th anniversary of Dr. King's assassination, crucifixion. But I'm thinking about how black men and women were 50 years ago. They had to do the marching. I mean, we were more physically fit as a people 50 years ago, correct? Would that be correct statement
Yes,
to
sir.
make?
Yes.
Why is that so? What's different from 50 years ago to now? What was the
Well,
change?
it wasn't as much fast food. The fast food just came on the rise, so it wasn't as much fast food. The cars weren't as popular yet, so a lot of people still walked. We didn't have as much as the pollution. I don't think Monsanto was doing the GMO, so the food was much different. So the food was much different. The video games weren't in existence as much. The TV, we played outdoors more. We were in the sun more. A lot more exercise. A lot less meat. A lot less sugar. We were, so all of those things helped because my mother, she grew up in Mississippi in the 50s, and they were poor. But poor meant that they had to grow most of their own food, or they would have starved to death. So as a result, she actually was raised on an extremely healthy diet, because they were forced to grow their own food. Whereas now you're poor. That means you're depending on a check from the government to feed you. And then you can only buy junk food with your check. Whereas poor back in the 50s meant, hey, you got to get out there in the yard and grow your own food, which of course means you're exercising because you're out in the dirt, so, and they benefited from that environment. So that's why most of them growing up in the 50s, they didn't get fat until they got older, whereas now kids are coming out fat. And so they don't stand a chance. Most of them, most children now have heart disease by the age of 10. So what I'm saying is that if you're 10 years old, you need to pay attention to what I'm saying because you need to reverse heart disease.
You said 10 years old. It's not on the parents, it's on the 10-year-old child to be responsible at that age.
Correct. At 10 years old, you need to reverse heart disease. You have heart disease if you're 10.
You know what?
Yeah.
I didn't mean to interrupt you, but it's like what you're saying is like people don't even understand. I mean, this stuff is so deep to me because people have to replay this and understand where you're coming from. You're coming from a place of love and understanding, but a lot of folks don't want to go to the root of the problem. And I keep on thinking to myself, when you lose control of your food supply as well as your education, this is what we get today. So really the system is built to destroy people. It's not built for humanity, right? Or in particular, black people.
Right. Oh, yeah. It's the greatest weapon of mass destruction we've ever faced. It's the best weapon to destroy is because it also, and this is what I'll be talking about here April the 26th. I'll be doing a seminar called Genocide by Diet, how the racist elite is using junk food to create mental illness and violence in the black community.
Wow.
So going back to epigenetics, the food is destroying our brains because we're eating a high sugar diet, and sugar pulls nutrients out of the brain. It pulls medicines out of the brain that affects behavior. There's about 7 or 10 different nutrients that the brain needs to control aggression, to control development, to control behavior, to control depression, and sugar pulls those nutrients out of the brain. So you're left with a mentally ill, emotionally disturbed person. And then you add all the other environmental factors and you have what you have with black men just killing each other in record numbers and all the chaos we see and anger we see in our community. So once again, it's a biological weapon of mass destruction. It's creating genocide. It leads to how we feed our brains, can lead to suicide. It can lead to it perpetuates drug addiction, a myriad of social problems. There's not a social problem in the black community that can be detached from nutrition. So when you have a town meeting and you're discussing issues in the black community and you're serving donuts and you don't even mention nutrition, you wasted your time.
Oh my God. It's like people be so afraid, but they got, like Jack Nicholson said in the movie A Few Good Men, you can't handle the truth. We can't really handle the truth of what you're saying, the gravity. I mean, we're in a state of emergency is basically what you're telling me.
Absolutely. We're in a state of emergency. We're expecting Alzheimer's and dementia to double and triple in 20 and 30-year-olds. Matter of fact, if you want to get rich, put stocks in the nursing homes because they're going to be filled with 20 and 30-year-olds from strokes in 5 to 10 years. So you can go ahead and put your stocks in that. We're looking at already 70% of all Americans are diabetic or pre-diabetic, and for Black people is upwards of 80 and 90% of everyone. Even if you're not diagnosed with diabetes, you have diabetes because if you have excess body fat, your pancreas is already overworking to produce enough insulin to pull the sugar out of your blood. So most Black people are walking around with a high level of sugar in their blood, which leads to heart disease, which is why 50% of all Black people have heart disease and high blood pressure. And then it leads to the mental issues that is affecting the amount of aggression and violence and anger that we see in our communities.
I'm glad you brought up Alzheimer's and dementia because that was on my mind, really. Right before you said that, I'm glad you brought that up because I want people to understand. So basically, it's our diet. It's not necessarily hereditary. It's our diet that's killing us, right? It's the diet, the food we choose to eat is really killing us.
Yeah, Alzheimer's and dementia is just another form of diabetes. When you have a high level of sugar in the brain, nutrients can't pass through. Nutrients can't get in to the brain, so the brain dies, or a build up from too much animal. Animal is high in heme iron, and the iron and copper will build up and form balls of metal in the brain that'll block blood flow. And blood carries nutrients, and blood removes waste. So whenever you compromise blood flow in any way, it causes a host of problems. And in the brain dies. That the brain dies, and when the brain dies, and then nutrients getting pulled out of the brain while waste is building, your brain can't function properly. I mean, it's just, we're just insane. The food industry has turned us insane. Who in the world would put Kool-Aid in their vehicle, then their vehicle break down, and then you're going to go to the car mechanic and expect him to give the vehicle a pill? I mean, this is just nonsensical. How we think about our bodies compared to a vehicle. I mean, the mechanic will look at you like you're crazy, then flip the switch. You go to the mechanic with need an oil change, and you watch this man cut the wire that tells you need an oil change. You watch him do it. Now, what would happen? I mean, the chaos that would ensue, the lawsuits. But then we do the same thing to our body. We poison it to death. And then when our brains shrink because it wasn't getting fed the nutrients it needs, then we blame it on genes.
Wow. This is like all this information. And also, I got to ask you this as well. When it comes down to it, which is more important? I know like both of them are equally important, I guess, but if somebody had to choose between diet and exercise, which would be the most important thing? Diet, by 99.9%. Diet is the cake, and exercise is the icing. And I know that's a bad example. But we love cake and icing. That's killing us. A healthy cake, and that's another thing. I got plenty of, I got books and stuff that have delicious recipes, including desserts. There's no loss of pleasure here. You can make healthy cake from whole natural plant foods sweetened with, dried fruit. And, so there's no loss of pleasure to eat to live. We just have to change our habits. Well, should we give up eating animals altogether then? I mean, can we find other ways to, people always talking about protein. People say you got to have meat for protein, but should we be eating animals at all? No, there's no need to. But, people just eat it for addiction. Anybody should know in 2018 that protein originates from plants. The reason why you could used to be able to eat beef and get some protein was because the cow got it from eating the grass. So, but when you get it from the cow, you're not getting any fiber. So it's going to sit in your system and wreak damage and wreak havoc on your organs because it has no fiber and it takes so long for the body to break down. It has no nutrients, so you're eating a low nutrient food. Nutrients are medicines that we need to arm our immune system. So there's nothing in it.
That's all you're getting is the protein. Whereas if you get the protein where the cow got it, if you bypass the middleman and get it from the plants, then you're not only getting plenty of protein, but you're getting the fiber. You're getting the natural medicines that come with it so that you don't be a part of that 50% of all Americans who will get diagnosed with cancer in their lifetime, according to the World Health Organization. So this myth that you need to eat meat for protein, first of all, most of the meat in the grocery store don't even have much protein in it anyway, because the cows aren't even being fed their natural diet. The diet of cows today is GMO grain, GMO corn or soy, or grinded up body parts of other animals. Mm. So that's where, and then the chicken too. That's why the chickens are 90% bigger than what they were 30 years ago. So these beasts aren't even eating their natural diet. So to sit there and to eat a chicken leg that's as big as your head and then claim you doing it for protein, you ain't doing it for protein. You're doing it because you're addicted to the taste of the flesh, because they put salt and sugar and color it before they put it on the supermarket shelf, because if it was its true color after to really resemble the type of lifestyle it led before slaughter, it will be brown and green and it will stink, because most of the animals that you're eating died of cancer and they still strung them up and slit their throats and slathered it with a bunch of chemicals and put it on the supermarket shelf, and then you put it on a barbecue grill and smoke it, which turns it into a carcinogen, and then you eat that for 40 years, and then you get colon cancer and die in your 60s, and then you just say it was just your time to go.
Oh my God! Well, you gonna scare a lot of people. You gonna wake up a lot of people. I think you scared the hell out of me. You scared the hell out of people. I'm like, this is scary stuff, man. I'm glad you doing this. I know it's gotta be hard to convince our people, man, because I just got through, man. My uncle offered me a cheeseburger with bacon on it. I said I turned it down because I knew I had to talk to you. But after talking to you, I don't know what I want to eat. You scaring me straight, man. But I want to ask you this, because people, we're such a sex obsessed society, and it's like a lot of men are having issues with erectile dysfunction, even younger now than I guess normal or whatever it was back in the day. Is it because of our diet, and can it be reversed through a different type of diet?
Right. It's the same as heart disease. Mm-hmm. So you have blood vessels that run up and throughout the entire body. If you took out all your blood vessels in your veins, it could wrap around the earth 2 times. And so those veins and arteries carry blood to it. It carry blood when blood carries nutrients to help each function of the body. Then blood removes waste to help clean the body. So blood flow is very important, very important. So whenever we eat things from junk foods that compromise blood flow, that part of the body where the blood is compromised, it has a negative effect. So for instance, when blood flow is shut off to the brain, you get Alzheimer's, you get dementia, you get mental illness, anger, suicide, homicide. When blood flow is shut off to your fingers, you get arthritis. When it's shut off to your knees, you get arthritis. When it's shut off to your feet, you're going to have to get your legs amputated because your foot is going to die. It's going to become rotten because it's not being fed nutrients. It's much like a tree. Mm-hmm. And so it's the same thing with a man, with the penis. If you're not getting the blood flow, and see, most men don't, because when you're very lean, you should see, you can see the veins on your bottom stomach, leading down to that area. Well, that's carrying blood flow that would allow you, to achieve, an erection. So if you're not, if those blood vessels are clogged with cholesterol and saturated fat, from your barbecue, it's clogging those arteries. Blood flow can't get in, and that's where the erection is coming from. But that should be the least of your concern. Your concern should be is that if that's happening down there, you can rest assured you're on your way to a heart attack.
Wow.
I mean, because Viagra was a heart medication. That's why, because Viagra was found to, clear the arteries leading to the heart. But then they also saw that it did the same thing for the arteries leading to the penis. Well, of course it does, because it's the same thing. So these diseases are complicated. They all can come down to the same cause: a compromised blood flow, buildup of waste, inflammation, and too much sugar, which pulls nutrients out. And then the same with salt, because salt is sodium chloride, which is a poison.
But what about people that they love Whole Foods? I mean, Whole Foods, are they exceptional on how they treat their meat or food, or should we worry of places like Whole Foods?
Yeah, unless you're growing your own food and growing your own animals, and I wouldn't trust the USDA unless you're growing your own animal. But here's the point: when it comes to meat, it doesn't matter if you move to Australia and start growing your animals in the lands of Australia. We're still not carnivores, and we still were meant to eat mostly 90+% of our calories should be coming from whole natural plant foods, your greens and beans and onions and mushrooms and berries and seeds, and making them into delicious recipes. There is no biological need in 2018 to put a piece of flesh in your mouth. The only reason why you're doing it is because of addiction, to try to continue to lie and tell yourself that you have some type of medicinal need for the flesh is false. It's a myth. So the more animal you consume, no matter where it comes from, the more you're increasing your likelihood for disease, especially cancer.
So when our ancestors were brought over here, were they mostly vegans or all vegans or something like that? Or
yeah, they were mostly vegetarian.
Okay.
And most of our people were vegetarian, and the cultures in Africa that did eat a lot of meat, they very poor live in very violent tribes too. You can tell the violent tribes. That's why the Europeans, when they were stuck during the Dark Ages or before, in the caves of the Caucasus Mountains, and they were very violent people. They ate a lot of meat, and that meat destroys brain function because of the saturated fat and the cholesterol that impedes blood flow to the brain, the lack of nutrients to the brain. So you can look at a tribe and look at how violent and angry they are versus, tribes in parts of the world like the Okinawans in Japan, who historically used to live in their hundreds, and very peaceful, loving people, despite being a very poor people, very loving and peaceful people, eating mostly whole natural plant foods.
So I mean, wow. So that explains America now. we love meat over here. We love meat. We like. Well, Dr. King said, it's the greatest purveyor of violence on the planet is my own government, and we love a good old red steak over here, medium rare or whatever. But I'm gonna ask you this. I think it's very important. What about dairy? Should we be messing around with dairy at all?
No, because most of our people are lactose intolerant. And then the dairy came from a cow, and the cow was stuck with a hormone called bovine growth hormone to force it to produce milk beyond its natural means. The meat industry is evil, and the dairy industry, there's just no way, we should be supporting that type of industry the way they're treating God's creation. It's an abomination. And we can't expect to support that type of industry and those effects not come back on us. We're reaping what we're sowing. We're ignoring this industry of death, and we're paying a terrible price with our health. I mean, I would never ever eat an animal again for the simple fact of even not. I'm no animal loving hippie by a long shot. However, that's just evil. You don't torture an animal and stick things in it to force it his whole life, and they strip the calves from the cow You know, I mean, it's evil, you know. So no, absolutely not. We shouldn't be consuming dairy. What do they say we need dairy for? They've lied and brainwashed it and said calcium, when once again, the cow, if it did have calcium in it, it's because it got it from eating the grass. And they don't even eat grass no more because they're stuck in cages their whole lives. So we get the most calcium rich sources of food is green vegetables, not getting it from dairy. Everything that we need, we can get from whole natural plant foods.
Wow. So, man, when you said that, I was thinking about what happened like 20-something years ago when, you know, Oprah Winfrey, when she had an expose about the meat industry, that almost shut her down. You know, she almost lost everything. You remember that? When they, I mean, she tried to take them on. She ain't been the same since. You know what I'm saying? She walked, you know, she told the line now. But how can you really, you know, I mean, you going against a behemoth, a Goliath in the FDA, in the meat industry, the dairy industry. How can you get your message out? I mean, how have you been able to get your message out in this wilderness?
Well, you know, I haven't.
Okay. But you come from St. Louis too, man. That's like, you know, that's Midwest, man. We love our White Castle and stuff. I'm just saying, we love it.
Right. Well, it's, you know, all I can do is just preach the truth to people, and then I just pray that my job is just to give everybody informed consent, but it's, you know, I don't have any, you know, misconceptions that everybody is going to change. Everybody can't be saved from this monster. However, everybody deserves the right to know. You should know what cancer is, where it comes from. You should know what diabetes is. You should know that you're choosing to kill yourself with every bite you take. You should know that. And then if you choose to continue that, you know, like my father chose to continue that because, you know, you don't want to give it up, then that's fine. But at least you should know that, no, you're doing that to yourself. It ain't got nothing to do with no genes. You're changing your genes. You're giving yourself heart attack, stroke. It's your fault. You should at least know that while you're doing it. And then you can have it say, yeah, I know, but I don't want to, you know, I don't want to give it up. I choose death. I choose suffering. I choose stroke. I choose dementia. I choose Alzheimer's. Everyone should have that right. That's all I'm saying. That's what my mission is.
Wow. What's been the response from your other family members? How have they received your message or not received it? I mean, anybody else took to your message in your family?
Yes, my mother changed and lost 40 pounds. So she, you know, and I strength trained her before I left, and I got her very strong. My wife, she's still trying to change all the way, but she did lose 60 pounds and reversed stage 2 high blood pressure so far. She's still trying to overcome the extreme forces of food addiction, but she's made it that far. And then my other siblings, you know, they don't listen. They have an extreme high level of respect for me, and I don't, you know, preach or berate anybody. You know, I just live my life, and if they and as long as I'm healthy, one day they might ask me questions, but until then, you can't change anybody. You just have to be a living example.
That's deep right there. And I got to give you props for, you know, how you deal with your wife on this situation. Like, you're not trying to, you know, browbeat her into submission, into doing what you tell her to do. Like, submit to your vision, but you give her a chance to, you know, figure the things out for herself. And also you giving her that support. Cause I don't see how you could do it. I don't see how you was able to do it. You know, you lost 100 pounds and kept it off for 5+ years. Like, without support systems. I'm saying, what did you get your support from?
I get my support from reading, doing a whole lot of reading, and just a whole lot of reading and studying. But it's a lonely path. It's a lonely path. But some of us have more of a personality that's conducive to fighting against social normacy than others. Because social norms and the desire to want to fit in, that's called pain avoidance. And that's a big part of food addiction, that it can become painful to leave the culture, because food is everything when it comes to relationships and family. But I've been blessed with a personality to where I'm a very introverted person. So I'm not as affected as the societal pressure as other people may be. So, and then I love this. I love reading about health. I love studying this stuff. I've read numerous books, a small library, documentary after documentary, even if it's the same information. I'm watching a documentary about a man going through his journey in reversing diabetes. I just love it. I love watching that stuff and hearing that stuff. And so it just becomes so a part of you. And I've always enjoyed exercising and working out, so those things have helped me. The knowledge, the extreme knowledge, the fact that it's a passion of mine. And there's no way you're going to sit here and read and study this stuff all day and it not affect your behavior. Knowledge definitely is power. So knowledge became my support system. And then my wife, she's a very good wife. So even at the height of her struggles, she always helped me with preparing my food and making the food the way that I wanted. And, she would make my food. And then when she wanted to do what she was going to do, she would just have to leave the home.
You know what? I'm glad you said about how your wife was supportive of your vision, even though she might not be in total agreement in doing the vision with you. Because I have heard people saying, I want to change my diet, but my wife won't change the food. Like my food, my doctor said my blood pressure high, but my wife's still going to give me support. You know what I'm saying? I heard people say stuff like that.
No,
your wife refused to. I mean, wow.
Yeah. I know of a situation with a guy that was real close to me at one point. Mm-hmm. And his wife was against him. She was completely against. She wanted him to stay 300 some pounds. She didn't want him being smaller. And she fought him every way, and he gave in, and who knows what the future holds. But absolutely, there's a lot of very, very insecure women who they marry their men fat, and they want them to stay fat. And they get very uncomfortable if they start to get lean.
Well, did you face that from some of your family? People like, I don't like you like this. I'm not used to, your head is too big for your body. I'm not saying that's true for you. I'm just saying how people would say stuff. Like when you start changing for your betterment, a lot of folks you thought were your friends and family, they kind of turn their backs on you, or they try to, bully you into like you said, like your former friend staying a certain size. You didn't get that type of pushback from people close to you when you start losing your weight?
Oh yeah, absolutely. One family member very close to me, and I had to check him. I had to tell him. I had to almost nearly challenge him to a fight in a boxing match.
Wow.
The type of trash. I did, and he stopped. He stopped when I brought it to his attention, and then of course I was a police officer, and that's the worst environment in the world to be carrying around a salad. And so they saw my transformation, and absolutely the amount of hate and jealousy. One person will tell me that I'm built like a killing machine, then the other person tell me I look like a weakling. I mean, which is it? Do I look like a killing machine, or how can you be both? How can you look weak and strong at the same time? But people when they see you can do something they can't do, they will. Coming out of the sad is like being a crackhead in a crack house, and then you get off crack, but you still got to stay in the crack house. That's a hard road to tote, because when you get off crack in the crack house, you got to go. And the other crackhead looking like, man, you can't come up in here and you all clean and off crack. You making us feel bad. Right. So you got to leave, and you can leave, but you can't leave the society of the sad. You're in the crack house trying to get off crack, but you ain't got nowhere to turn. So that's why you have to that's why I do the health coaching. That's why Rock brought me out here, so that I can be that support system for him. Because with most people that I health coach, I'm the only person in their life that cares about them not dying of a heart attack. I don't even know them, and I care more about them not having a heart attack than their own loved ones.
It's because we conditioned by a system that don't really respect us as full human beings. Or with them. I mean, I'm thinking about you in St. Louis. That's where Dred Scott is buried at, right? Who was told by Supreme Court Roger Taney that you have no rights that a white man is bound to respect you or your descendants. So are we still carrying that type of legacy of that we're in a system that does not really love us? That's why we overeat, because we got this void created by the system that we're in. Absolutely. Emotions play a huge role. We have emotional eating is huge, and the drug of choice is food now. You don't have, it's normal to eat yourself to death, so you don't have to lose your job and snort crack and go to jail. You just eat a cheeseburger. Right. Wow. So it is. It's a tremendous amount of mental suffering that's perpetuating addiction. But however, the food makes it even worse, because the food destroys the brain. So that just puts you in a deeper hole of depression and hopelessness and despair. But absolutely, Black people, we're suffering from, we've been suffering for years from post-traumatic slave disorder. And of course, scholars like Dr. Umar, he talks about that extensively, and that's all true. What about professional sports athletes? I know that people like Kyrie Irving, he made a big, sensation when he went vegan. And he said how it improved his performance, how he feel better, like, for his physical. Do you think, like, people embracing what you're trying to do is, in terms of professional athletes, would it help them come back, injuries and even CTE with football players? It would. It would help them tremendously, because, first of all, it would keep them from getting sick. Because the nutrients, the medicines, and whole natural plant foods arms the immune system to where it keeps you from getting viruses and bacterial infections. So they would stay stronger, and they wouldn't get sick with the flu. They would stop suffering from headaches, because the plant foods remove waste from the brain. Headaches is just the brain trying to detox. That's all that is. So that would eliminate that. And then once again, blood flow will be optimally restored to the joints and tissues, which will cut down on injuries and give you more oxygen. He's getting more oxygen to his heart, which is allowing him to perform at a higher level. I know this because I'm the same weight I was when I was 16 years old. And when I was a 20-year-old Marine, I was on the boxing team in the Marines, and I had poor, pathetic stamina. Now here, 12 years later, and I'm not even fighting no more, and I'm the same weight, and I have 50 times the conditioning. Well, what changed? My diet changed. I'm in excellent shape. So absolutely, athletes. That's why Tom Brady is performing at a high level. And once an athlete grows up eating the way that I teach at the optimal level, and that's. He's going to change the game. He's going to change whatever game he's in, because his level of performance is going to be incredibly high. That he'll change he'll destroy all of these embedded myths, embedded European dietary myths, mainly that you need protein to be strong and dairy. These are European myths, dietary myths. These aren't dietary regulations based in African history. It's all European concepts of diet and what to eat and what not to eat, and we shouldn't be under that type of system and that type of thinking. We've been thoroughly brainwashed by our oppressors. I'm really, you read my mind. I was thinking about Tom Brady, and you said Tom Brady. And how, he just really did a 180 in terms of, or 360, well, I guess 180, because, that knee injury he had, and then he just changed. I'm not going to let them cut on me anymore like a steak. And it really is unnatural for people to be cutting on you, right, to heal you. Is it, unnatural for folks to just cut off everything? You got something going on, especially with Black people. They love to cut on us. Yeah. I'm listening. Go ahead. Right, yeah, it's a form of experimentation. The European medical system is based off of, it's a type of occultism or hocus pocus. It's experimentation. Cut this and see what happens.
give them this poison and see what happens. That's what the whole system is about, is cut and slice and experimentation. So it's mainly like playing Lego or putting together blocks or something. It's completely, it has no basis in actually trying to solve the issue or provide any real medicinal to the body. And so it's a farce. It's a farce. It's a hoax, and it's evil because it's not giving people the assistance that they need and robbing people of their future health, and then just taking things out of the body for God knows what reasons, whether it's organ, transplants or harvesting or selling people's organs, or just doing it just for the heck of it, just for the fun of ripping people's organs out of their body. It's a very barbaric and archaic. It's the medical industry. The European medical industry is a crime against humanity.
Wow. And I'm about to wrap it up, man. You is a great guest. I look forward to having you on again. I just know you're going to blow up. I just know that this is going to take off for some reason, because I think it's the time for people to really understand what's really going on. And people deserve a right to make the choice. Like you said, they deserve a right to either live or die, but it should be their choice to either live or die. So I want to ask you also about probiotics, good or bad?
Well, it's good. Probiotic just means good bacteria that supports health, and 70% of the immune system is in the gut. However, you want prebiotics to help support probiotic growth, and the best prebiotic is beans, because beans are full of resistant starch. That's a type of fiber that doesn't get broke down in the body. So when you eat beans, resistant starch goes inside your gut, stays there, and grows into good bacteria, or a probiotic. So the best pre and probiotic is beans. You should be eating a cup of beans every day, and then that will give you the fiber you need, and you will stop being constipated.
So any type of bean, or
any type, all of them. Any whole bean is a superfood. There's no such thing as a food that God created that grows from earth that's not healthy. Eat them all, and eat a variety of them.
Wow. And how long you been doing your ministry?
I've been doing this I've been full-time in ministry. It's been a little over a year, but I've been health coaching people for 6 years. I started off health coaching people for free when I lost my 100 pounds.
Wow. So you got, basically, people still stay in touch with you, like former clients or people that benefited from what you have done? Do they still stay in touch with you? Do you have a group, a support group or anything like that?
Well, I do stay in touch with some people that I helped from 6 years ago, and I have a growing list of success stories. I have had people reach out to me asking me about, hey, what about starting a community group or some type of forum? And that is something that maybe someone could, help me do, because that is needed, a forum, a community, support group. But of course, I'm available online on my business page on Facebook, and I always ask questions, and that's a way to have a community right there, to support each other. But that is something that's very important to have. But I don't, and that is something I need to do, an actual community forum of some sort.
I just have a feeling that you're about to blow up in a good way. Not blow up like in a terrorist way, but blow up in a very good way in terms of what you're putting forth. Like you with Rock Newman, that's just really, you live in your purpose, man. Like you meeting the right people. You're doing something that needs to be done. I know that you're doing the right thing because you picked something that was difficult and you sticking with it, which is to tell our people the truth about how they're eating themselves to an early grave. So also, I look forward to also hearing about athletes and other people providing testimony to your good works as well too. I believe that you're going to get a certain number of professional athletes coming your way. I really do believe that it's going to benefit from what you're doing. So what's the best way to get in touch with you, or how to hire you, and whatever we need to do? Because a lot of people be asking me these questions.
Right. Well, my website is theministerofwellness.com. Theministerofwellness.com. That's my main website. It has I have several books preventing and reversing heart disease, high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, cancer. I have a book that I sell, Eat for Health by Dr. Joel Furman, Fast Food Genocide by Dr. Joel Furman. So I have several books. I have a DVD, The Fundamentals of Eating to Live. I have a second DVD that's coming out soon, Prevent and Reverse All Disease, the truth about preventing and reversing disease. The medical industry does not want Black people to know. That's coming out soon. So you can go to products, services. I am a one-on-one health coach. If you're able to invest in your health, I'll spend 3 to 4 hours with you for only $250, and it's all payments or a donation to the ministry, so you can write it off on your taxes. So all my services are listed. I have several lectures that you can view the lectures, view videos of the lectures, and if you want me to come speak to your group or organization or church, reach out to me. My phone number is area code 314-443-8441. That's 314-443-8441. Or you can send me a message through my website. And I'm also on YouTube. I have over 90 videos. Just type in The Minister of Wellness, subscribe to my channel, and I have 96 videos and growing on a variety of topics. And find me on Facebook. I'm on Facebook at Ministry of Wellness, Inc. or at The Minister of Wellness in my public page. And usually every day I try to post recipes on my Facebook page.
Well, thank you so much, Minister Jordan, for sharing your time and wisdom and insight and exceptional story with us, man. We really appreciate it. And do you have any final words or thoughts for the segment?
The final words and thoughts is that you don't have to have a heart attack. You don't have to have a stroke. You don't have to have diabetes. You don't have to have dementia and Alzheimer's. And we already know how to eradicate cancer. It's time for us to unlearn the lies that we've been fed by the for-profit, racist, and wicked medical industry. And it's time for us to break free from this food addiction that's making us illogical and causing us to destroy an entire future generations.
Thank you so much, Minister Jordan. In the words of Great Degilton, we love you madly. Keep on producing and pushing.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Brother Ron. Love you all, too.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Peace.
Peace.